I'm Not Tired, a story about what happens when love goes quiet. It started like any other night. Me, my wife, and that familiar silence that fills the space between two people who've forgotten how to talk. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, scrolling through her phone, the blue glow washing over her face. I leaned against the doorway, searching for something to say. Anything that didn't sound like the same tired question I'd asked 100 times before. You coming to bed? I finally asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Not tonight, she murmured, eyes never leaving the screen. I'm too tired. Those 3 words had become her bedtime ritual, her gentle but constant rejection, a soft way of saying she'd rather lose herself in that little screen than in me. I nodded, pretending it didn't hurt, pretending I hadn't been keeping track of how long it had been since she'd reached for me, looked at me, really seen me. I turned off the light and went to bed alone, listening to her quiet footsteps in the hallway, knowing she wouldn't be joining me. The next morning, her best friend Jenna came by, like she often did. Jenna was different, warm, effortlessly alive, the kind of person who could walk into a room and somehow make the air lighter. She'd been in our lives for years, college friends with my wife long before I came into the picture. I liked her, but there was something in the way she looked at me sometimes, part curiosity, part something unspoken. That day, they sat at the kitchen counter laughing over something on Jenna's phone. My wife's laughter filled the room, a sound I hadn't heard in what felt like forever. She looked happy, really happy, and I didn't know whether to be grateful or jealous. Jenna stayed for dinner that night. We opened a bottle of wine, and for a few hours, it almost felt like old times. We joked, reminisced about road trips, inside jokes, the early days when love still felt effortless. But even as we laughed, I noticed things, small, fleeting things. Jenna's eyes lingering on me a beat too long. The softness in her tone when she asked me questions. The way she listened, really listened, when I spoke. It wasn't flirtation exactly. It was something deeper. A kind of empathy that felt dangerous in its tenderness. Later that evening, my wife yawned, said she was tired, and went upstairs to bed. That familiar ache returned. Jenna stayed to help me clean up. The house was quiet, the air thick with that late-night stillness. As she handed me a glass of wine, she said quietly, "She's been pulling away from you, hasn't she?" Her words hit me like a punch. I tried to shrug it off, to laugh, but she didn't look away. "I see it in your eyes," she said softly. "You look lonely." And for the first time in a long time, I told the truth. I told her how it felt, the distance, the rejection, the slow fading of something that once felt infinite. It wasn't about intimacy anymore. It was about feeling invisible. Jenna didn't interrupt. She just listened, eyes steady, expression unreadable. After a long silence, she whispered, "You deserve to be seen." I looked at her, really looked. Her face was close, her eyes soft, and for a heartbeat, the air between us changed. She smiled faintly, almost sadly, and said the words that still echo in my mind. "I'm not tired." Time froze. No seduction, no games, just truth, raw, quiet truth. She didn't move closer, didn't touch me. She just looked at me, like she was handing me a choice. My heart was pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. Every part of me wanted to move, to speak, to do something. But I didn't, because upstairs there was still someone I loved, even if she no longer saw me. Jenna was the first to look away. "I shouldn't have said that," she whispered. She grabbed her purse, pausing at the door. Then she turned and said, "You deserve more than what she's giving you. Don't forget that." And then she was gone. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling, listening to my wife's soft, steady breathing beside me, wondering when we drifted so far apart. When she turned toward me in her sleep, her hand brushed my arm, and I almost broke. Because even through the hurt, even through the emptiness, I still loved her. I just didn't know how much longer love could survive like this. The next morning, she acted like nothing had happened. She smiled over coffee, asked how I slept, kissed my cheek before leaving for work. I wanted to stop her, to say, "You're losing me," but the words never came. A few days later, Jenna texted, "Sorry for the other night. I care about you both. I stared at the message for a long time before deleting it, not out of anger, but because I understood. It wasn't about temptation. It was about someone seeing me fading and trying in the wrong way to remind me I was still there. It's been months since that night. My wife and I are still together, still trying. Therapy, date nights, little moments that mean more than either of us admit. Sometimes, late at night, when she's asleep beside me, I still hear Jenna's voice. I'm not tired, but it doesn't feel like temptation anymore. It feels like a reminder. That love doesn't die overnight. It fades quietly when no one's paying attention. And that sometimes all it takes to lose someone is to stop trying to see them.